Being a geologist is so much fun. More or less what we're doing is making observations and then trying to tell the best story we can without interpretations from those observations. Kind of like being a detective of the landscape. So here, I'm at a place called Duck Lake. I'm trying to figure out, how did this environment form? Well, if we look down here to the left, we have a whole bunch of different rock types. We have a limestone here, another limestone here, a sandstone, a crystalline rock, an igneous rock, another crystalline rock of a different composition. And so you start to think about, how did these rocks get here? They all also seem to be rounded. And when you have a whole bunch of different composition rocks, they've likely been transported. And here, you start to think about, how are they transported? As we come down to the beach, all the rocks are coated in a white substance, likely a precipitate from this lake. And so as we look off into the distance, you can see beautiful mountains of
Glacier National Park.
And what we notice about those mountains is they seem sculpted. They're carved. They're very steep, dramatic peaks with U-shaped valleys in between them. And so what that starts to hint at, between all these different rock types, crystalline rocks being brought down from Canada, sedimentary rocks from right here in Glacier National Park, we start to think about glaciation in the landscape. This lake, you can see it's oriented east to west, its long direction. So probably this was glacial ice that was flowing out from the mountains onto the plains and was left a stranded ice material being deposited around it, and then that melted and filled in as a lake. As you look to the west of here towards the mountains, there's a whole bunch of, as the pelican flies towards the mountains, there's a whole bunch of small little kettle lakes. So during this day, we see more and more evidence for glaciation in this beautiful landscape. As we get closer to the Rocky Mountain front, hopefully we'll see more beautiful examples of that. We'll follow the pelican to the mountains. As we get closer to the mountain front in Glacier National Park, traveling west on the Going to the Sun Road, you can see a large lake to our left. This is St. Mary Lake. St. Mary Lake lies in a northeast-southwest orientation. The lake is the result of a large valley-carving glacier. When the subsequent ice and snowmelt occurred since the end of the last ice age, about 10,000 years ago, the lake filled with all of that runoff. Now we're left with a large lake with glacially sculpted peaks above it. Truly a magical sight. As we get higher in elevation, you can see the jagged peaks with U-shaped valleys in between. The high jagged peaks would have been sticking out above the ice sheet, and the rounded shoulders of the peaks and the valleys carved and sculpted by the ice. As you can see by the shoulders of the road, glacial landscapes leave behind very steep-sided valleys. As we emerge through this tunnel, we are nearing the crest of the Going to the Sun Road. We're approaching Logan Pass. Even on an August summer day, the temperatures are very cool up here at the higher elevations. And you're looking into the left and back behind us, you can take in the spectacular landscape left behind by the once mighty ice. Let's stop and take a closer look. If we just take a moment here to look at this phenomenal valley just below Logan Pass, where the clouds are coming through on the right here, that's Logan Pass. And we can see all sorts of cool geology from here. First, of course, this massive U-shaped valley, but also up at a higher elevation, you can see hanging valleys. And those formed when the mountain glaciers were coming down and they would meet the valley glacier. The valley glacier ice was thick enough so that the ice was meeting the other ice rather than carving out the slopes down towards the bottom of the valley. Of course, you can see all the horizontally bedded rocks of the belt formation, again 1.4 to 1.47 billion years old. And that's what the majority of Glacier Park is carved out of, are these belt rocks. Just a spectacular spot. Of course, Glacier National Park is known for its glaciers. However, it's really known for what the glaciers have left behind. Straight ahead here is Jackson Glacier, one of the few remaining glaciers. And it's being monitored. It's been monitored for a number of years, and it's certainly getting smaller with time. Climate change has increased the overall temperatures, precipitation patterns have changed, and so these glaciers are retreating back into the mountains. But what they are doing is leaving behind the incredible legacy of their ability to shape the landscape. And that's really what Glacier National Park is all about.